Good afternoon, everyone. So we will get started. I'm pleased to welcome you all to the ASI Community Chat. This event allows you, the students, to express your concerns and ask your elected and appointed student leaders your questions. My name is Jenna Wong, pronouns she, her, and I will be serving as your moderator for today's event. We are all thrilled to have all of you here and look forward to discussions to be had. To begin, I want to explain the format for today's event. If you would like to ask a question, we have two options for you to share your thoughts. For our in-person folks, you can raise your hand and I will bring the mic over for you to share. And if you're attending via Zoom, feel free to type your question in the chat, and Mira, one of our ASI communication coordinators, will relay your questions to the panelists. And thank you to everyone who submitted and shared their experiences and questions to help shape today's discussion. And also, thank you to everyone who is here and present today. The structure of how questions will be answered will be in a pattern of two audience questions, then one pre-submitted question, and then cycling back to the audience questions. And before we continue, I'd like to pass it over to Janica before we begin with our introductions.
Peace, y'all. My name is Janica. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge that we are speaking with y'all on unceded indigenous land of the Ahajiman, Quiche, and Tongva peoples, and maintain solidarity in their struggle for land back and sovereignty. Next, I'd like to guide us through a collective grounding. In a few moments, I'll invite us to take 4 deep breaths together so we can be present in the space that we are sharing. Ready? Thank you, and I'll pass it back to Jenna.
Thank you, Janica. So I will start with introducing one of our panelists, and then the rest of our panelists will introduce one another. So Janica Michelle Martinez Torres, pronouns she, her, sha, is a queer Pinay activist, scholar, and community organizer who serves as our ASI Chief Inclusion and Diversity Officer, a queer peer mentor for the Queer Resource Center, and DJ Soul Boogie hosting Solidarity Radio at Titan Radio. She is on a healing journey seeking to move toward liberation in love, solidarity, and community, and loves shaking shit up in the process. Janica is a fleshful Pinay on the lighter side with hella long black hair and dimples that appear sporadically. Today she's wearing a ASI polo, pants, and sneakers.
Thank you. I'll be introducing Josh. Josh Mitchell, pronouns he, him, his, is in the Computer Engineering Master's Program and serves as our ASI president. In the past, he has served as a residential advisor in housing for the athletic and honors communities. In his free time, he loves to watch and play soccer, baseball, and basketball. He hopes to make a positive change in the world with his future aspirations in the data science and engineering field. For his physical description, Josh is a 6'1" biracial man on the lighter side with shaved dark brown hair. Today he is wearing a dark blue ASI polo and khaki pants.
Hello, everyone. I will be introducing Kiera Dawson, our vice president. So Kiera Dawson, pronouns she, her, hers, is a fourth-year student completing a bachelor's degree with a double major in American Studies and Communications, Entertainment, and Tourism. Currently serving as vice president of ASI, she is primarily responsible for overseeing the programming team, as well as the executive senate, and the grading of ASI scholarships and grants. Having previously served as a programming coordinator with ASI and on the College of Communications Interclub Council Executive Board, she recognizes the importance of the experience students have at CSUF outside of the classroom and seeks to improve this through her current role. The physical description for Kiera is a 5'9" with long, dark blonde hair and brown eyes. She's wearing a navy blue ASI branded polo and blue jeans.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm going to be introducing Mary. Mary is a fourth-year international business major with a concentration in global trade. She is your ASI Board of Directors Chair and is one of the Board of Directors for the College of Business. Mary is the founder and president of Southwest Asian North African, known as SWANA, and Lebanese Student Association. She loves hearing about student experiences and different ways to help support them and give them a true Titan experience. For the physical description, Mary is Lebanese with brown eyes, curly hair, and has a dimple on her left side of her face under her mask. She is currently rocking her blue ASI polo with blue jeans and black shoes.
And now I will be reading Jenna's bio. Jenna Marie Wong, pronouns she, her, serves as our Chief Communications Officer for ASI. She's a communicative disorders major and is president of the Student Speech Therapists and Audiologists Nurturing Cultural Enrichment, or STANCE, where she is an equity advocate in the field of speech and hearing sciences. Her physical description, Jenna stands at 5'1", but a staggering 5'2" today, with her Nike Air Maxes on. She's wearing her black jeans with rips at the knees, a long gray cardigan, and a blue ASI polo, which matches her blue hair.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you everyone for the introductions. And now we will get started with conversation. So to get started, does anyone have a question for the panelists? If not, we can get started with some of the pre-submitted questions. So a student asked, what are your plans to connect more with students?
All right, so when connecting more with students, Kiera and I ran this past year, back in the spring, it seems so long ago. One of our key pillars was communication, and more so communicating what we do to you all as student leaders. And so one of the main things I want to talk about, a project that we're working on right now, is the creation of an ASI app for everyone to download on their mobile devices. And that should be coming out maybe in the spring, but maybe later. And with that, it's going to be a new medium of communication for you all to get to know us better, so we all can get to know you better. We'll have programming information, scholarship information, and also a channel where you all can ask us really anything like this setup right now, but at any given time. And then another thing with just being present in community, in the past, I almost felt like there was this establishment where it was the expectation for you all as students to come to us with needs, but now we're trying to, as ASI leaders, come to you all and just be present in your community and to build that community for others. And I believe Janet can speak more to that.
Yes, as the Chief Inclusion and Diversity Officer, I spend a lot of time in the communities. I visit a lot of organizing programs and clubs. I like to be present and just listen, also support as much as I can. I've also worked at Dirk and the Women's Center and collaborate with a lot of clubs and departments to be able to have those conversations. And I also encourage our team to do so as well so that we can change the culture and that we are coming to y'all.
Awesome. Are there any questions yet from the audience? Okay, I will continue with the next question. So this student submitted their question via Instagram. Is there anywhere on campus where we can take a nap?
Yes, the best question of them all. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I can answer this. I believe it's Titan Wellness, will be moving over to Titan Hall. Unfortunately, that space is not available for students yet. Hopefully it will be in the spring, but that will feature nap pods for students, designated spaces for students to be able to rest throughout the day. Currently, there aren't any designated spaces, at least that we're aware of, but we know the TSU is a favorite place for students to knock out for a few minutes.
Yeah, and then for those of you that don't know where Titan Hall is, if you know where the arts building is, across the street, it's located right there. So be on the lookout for that coming in the future.
Okay, next question. Or actually, again, let me check. Audience, nothing yet? Okay, we'll continue. What events does ASI have in spring and for the end of this fall semester?
I love this question. To close out this semester, programming is going to be putting on a multi-day event, or I guess short series, that we call All Night Study. So this is something that we do year after year. It's an annual event during finals week to bring students together, and there's usually food and drinks and some activities and all sorts of fun stuff. So that will be taking place on December 7th, 8th, and 10th. So keep an eye out for materials on that, and be sure to stay updated with the ASI Instagram to see what programming's up to. As for the spring, I don't think I'm at liberty right now to discuss the details of what we have in store, but y'all can obviously expect spring concert, which we are very excited about. That's by far, I think, our biggest event of the year. So yeah, we're very excited.
I'd also like to chime in on that question for programming. We also have commissions like Lobby Corps, Environmental Sustainable Commission, and the Social Justice and Equity Commission. On December 1st, the Social Justice and Equity Commission will be hosting a healing sound bath for us to release. It's a very therapeutic experience right around finals time. We are collaborating on some key speaker events, so look out for that. We're not at liberty to say yet. And then I also collaborate with many folks on campus, including ICA, for Social Justice Week as well. So look out for programmings that engage conversations on healing and justice and equity on campus, as well as sustainability and advocacy on campus.
Awesome. And yes, just to repeat what Kiera said, staying up to date on our social media is the best place where you can hear about everything we have going on, upcoming events. And and again, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or submit it in the chat if you're on Zoom. So the next question.
Jenna.
Oh, yes. Awesome.
They used to be open till like about 9, as well as I believe Titan Shops was open a little later than it was now, like prior to COVID. How come you guys decided to cut back on the hours? I remember it was posted that the Yum was open till 9. Now it's to 6. I know that I'm one of those people that stays late at school and is studying and using the TSU, and it's nice to have like snacks, like going to the Yum, because the Yum is cheaper than the vending machines and other stuff as well. So yeah, how come that was like the reduction, as well as when more people come on campus, will we see the hours expand? Yeah.
I can take it. Okay. So to answer your question, I think that's just a trend you've seen across campus. I know from my own personal experiences too, like the library now is closed on Sundays. On Saturday, it's limited hours. And that's really to the fact that still moving back to campus in this fall semester, there hasn't been the ability to utilize all those resources fully. You'll also notice that we have the Pyology, which hasn't been opened yet, or the Starbucks on the bottom floor, which has not been opened yet. And those talks are still being had on the feasibility of it, and if it'd be affordable for the university to open those up. As far as moving into the future, though, I can't answer that question to you right now, but looking into the Yum specifically in the future.
And then I know another big piece of that too is staffing. A lot of these sorts of, I think Titan Shops and some other areas on campus, hours have been adjusted to adapt to the staff available. So hopefully we see changes with that. Thank you for bringing the Yum piece to our attention though, because I totally agree. 6 for a student is like 1 p.m. for a normal person.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Does anyone else have another question? Awesome.
Thank you. I have 2 questions. The first one is, back in 2019, DSS DSS Disabled Student Services, they did give students from DSS a DSS study lab, but when we returned back to campus, they had to close it down, and I asked them a couple of times, and the main reason was that they needed to update the computers and kind of clean up. But as of right now, the lab is still pretty much closed, and not really much has been done about it. And that was pretty much my only place to study, because everywhere else is kind of packed and very loud. I went to see DSS again, and they kind of tell me that they are offering a study room, but you have to make an appointment for that. And they also offer the 3rd floor, which is kind of nice, but it gets packed really, really fast. So the main thing is that, I was kind of wondering, if so, when can ASI talk to DSS about reopening the DSS study lab in the bottom library floor? Because, that was a really nice place to study and do my homework, but since it's closed, it's kind of hard to study now with, with a packed 3rd floor and so much noise going on. And the second one, I'm sorry to ask you this again, but when will you guys open the vegetarian and Pyology? Because I'm sorry, I can't keep lasting so long on chow mein and beef and broccoli over there, because I really miss those sweet potato fries.
Start us off, Janica?
You didn't go on for me.
Okay. Or you can go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Josh, for bringing up especially the study lab from DSS. I was unaware of that. I'm sorry that it's closed and it's caused you to not have some space to study that you feel like it's for you. We will then look into it and reach out to DSS and folks and have meetings with them to see if what we can do to help advocate for that space to reopen.
And then also to answer the second part of that question, but I'll give a recommendation for the first two. There's a 5th floor on the library if you move to the other side, and that one is just as quiet as the 3rd floor, but there's almost no students in there. It's a gem, so maybe try that one out. And then the second part of your question is going to be talking with the ASC board. Currently, they're questioning the economics of opening it up again, just because if it was profitable or not. So we're going to be having those conversations moving into the spring, because as you know, it's gotten pushed back and it won't be open this semester.
I'm also open to collaborating with y'all and reaching out and advocating. So I'll connect with you after this so that we can do that together. Cool.
Thank you for your question. Does anyone else, or actually, let me go back to a pre-submitted question and then I'll go back to audience questions. So someone submitted a question asking, so this was submitted via Qualtrics, what are you all doing to help the undocumented community?
I'll start with that. I believe in 2019, through the efforts of Maria and collaboration and consultation with Dream Co-op, we were able to pass a resolution to provide scholarships for undocumented students. Aside from that, I know we do have the Titan Dreamers Resource Center on campus. They provide like support, a place to build community, a safe space. They also provide free legal counsel and a way to access resources and just find and build a community. We do probably need more to address that, but that's what we have so far.
Thank you, Jenica. Does anyone from the audience have a question?
So for my question, it pertains to like next semester. I read on like the Daily Titan, we're going from what we have now to like 80%, which is like really, really, really close to what we had before, which is I think 90%. So my question was, how will the school hold students accountable for vaccinations and testing if they didn't lock the portals like they said they were?
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
So from what I can speak on is talking with HRDI and Vice President Forges. So their office is responsible for all the risk assessment in opening our campus. And you can see the stats of all of COVID cases on coronavirus.fullerton.edu. As it's currently stated, there's around 300 students that have not complied with either right now. We were not responsible for that decision, but we'll be talking further about ways to hold those students accountable. Because we do have over 92% now of students that have complied. So it's just a matter of getting those final students so that everyone can still attend our university and maybe be open to hearing why they have not complied thus far to keep our entire community safe.
Josh, can you also explain what HRDI stands for?
Do you want to do that?
It's Human Resources, Diversity, and Inclusion. They're located on the 7th floor of College Park, if you'd like to speak with them. But yeah, they oversee everything COVID-wise on behalf of the university.
And the COVID numbers being like the COVID cases that were seen in the tent, but also cases seen at home and then brought to campus to make sure that the contact tracing is held in place.
Are there any other audience questions? Okay. So we'll continue with another pre-submitted question. Someone asked via Instagram, when will the financial aid office open in person?
I'll take this. I feel like I have will die on this hill. I've been speaking with student affairs about this since August. I think it's very important, and being a student that accepts or benefits from financial aid myself, relies on financial aid myself, I realize how important it is for students to be able to have that line of communication, to be able to ask questions, make sure they've got all their forms submitted, because nothing's worse than thinking you have everything squared away and then something isn't. So I cannot directly answer the question when the office will be open. I know that it has been closed for some staffing issues as well. Our financial aid office lost a considerable amount of its staff over this past summer, which was difficult for the team, to say the least. So I'm under the impression that they see the time, or the time better used processing financial aid than staffing the office right now. That is the justification that I've heard. But I'm right there with students and will continue asking questions and advocating that that be a resource available for students, because I think it's crucially important.
Thank you, Kiera. If anyone has a question, feel free to raise your hand or submit it in the chat. Okay, so there's a question in the Zoom chat.
Last semester, ASI passed the resolution on the divestment from University Police toward investment in CSUF campus safety and mental health, which called on administration to reallocate funds from the overflowing police budget into mental health and student resources, such as more CAPS counselors, the hiring of QTBI POC faculty, calls for more transparency within the UPD budget, the cutting of ties between student affairs and campus housing with police, and other demands to ensure the safety of our QTBI POC student population. How are you following up on these demands and ensuring they are followed through? And then to follow up on that, as a member of SQE, we survey students about how they feel on campus. Many students, particularly our BIPOC community, do not feel safe with police on campus. How can you ensure their safety and allow ways to help them without police intervention?
Yeah. So when that resolution passed, we've had many discussions about that this semester as a team thus far, and also finding a way to work with our administration on how to implement this resolution so that all students on our campus feel safe and included in this conversation, and not just those that have had the privilege thus far of being represented by policing. And that's been a difficult conversation, to say the least, in trying to navigate how this will work. For what we can say on our end right now is we've hired 6 new counselors and working with, or we have not, but in talks with Dr. Oseguera, the Vice President of Student Affairs, hiring 6 new counselors of different representations. On our end specifically, we added another ASI representative on the Chiefs Advisory Board to try to slowly increase the amount of student participation, and also are planning to advocate for more in the spring semester to double that number. And then do you want to take the rest of it?
Yes, I tried to push really hard to advocate on progress for this resolution, sometimes to frustration, honestly. But we won't back down. We are relentless in pursuing this endeavor, because we understand that everyone on this campus deserves to feel safe and protected in a way that is non-traumatic to them, and that we believe moving forward, this is the best for the community as a whole. Mm-hmm. Also, I think we're in the works of trying to do something through Academic Senate as well, so that there's more of a push behind this for other from other voices on the campus as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's a piece-by-piece effort. I can say it's possible solutions look like, for example, in housing, creating a escort service for students in housing. I know we've had a lot of concerns about lighting and then also escorts right now with how dark it is outside after 6 o'clock. So talking in housing in the spring semester about what an escort service looks like for the students, supporting our students and building a community within our campus.
Yes, I really do like that initiative, since not everyone feels comfortable reaching out. for escort service from UPD, we are advocating for a student-led escort system so that we can get to know our neighbors, get to have conversations with each other, and start showing up for each other in a way that shows that we can care and take care of ourselves as well.
And one more point to add on to this resolution that was passed. I think when we hear the words divestment or abolition, we tend to tense up because it sounds like a radical change. But if we look at the big picture, is wanting to have all our students be represented at the table and not just those that have had the privilege to up to this point. And I think policing on our campus, when talking to other students, not everyone sees them as a healthy resource. So looking at ways that all our students can feel comfortable and safe.
Yes, it's more of an investment into our communities, an investment in our wellness and safety holistically, and in a way that doesn't contribute to more violence. Thank you for the question.
Thank you for that question. I believe there's another question on Zoom.
So in regards to the escorts mentioned, how will you ensure that these escort services are not tied to the UPD department?
I can answer it.
Okay.
Based on conversations thus far, it's definitely early in the works, to say the least. But just imagining different processes to better support students who either are experiencing long waits when reaching out for escorts, to see them from wherever they've parked to housing or wherever it may be, but also to support students who, as we've mentioned, may not feel comfortable reaching out to UPD for this reason. So how can we ensure that they are not related? I think it's a conversation of community building within housing and on our campus, and asking what ways students can support other students. Yeah, if anyone wants to add anything else.
We are going to advocate to the best of our ability for that to come to fruition and for not the other alternative. And also maybe reach out to community at large to help us with that advocacy as well. There's power in numbers if it's not just coming from us. And we can come together and show that there is a need for it in a way that we can do this together.
And I think as someone that has had a background in housing and understands the structure and how the resources that housing has, I think something like this is possible, and I'm confident that we can at least get the ball moving forward on a conversation to be held into future years.
I also want to add on, it is an ongoing process, and we are working on it, and we'll be advocating for it as well. So we could just all come to community and support one another, especially during these times too.
Thank you for that question. And following the structure of the event, I'll go back to a pre-submitted question. Someone asked via Instagram, does the TSU have refrigerators for students' meals?
I can take this one. So the TSU does not have refrigerators, but if you go to Dirk, it's located in PLS, so Pollack Library South. I believe it's 180, correct? I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 180. They have a student refrigerator, so you could go ahead and utilize those. And I also recommend checking out the resource centers in Dirk as well.
Great. And so now I'll go back to any audience questions. Then go ahead and raise your hand if there is one that comes up later, but I will continue with a pre-submitted question. Someone asked, what on-campus jobs are available for winter 2021?
I can also take this one. You could go ahead and on the asi.fullerton.edu website, you click on employment opportunities, and you'll see all the employment opportunities present currently that will be happening. And you could also see involvement opportunities if you do want to get an ASI and are interested in being an ASI. So I recommend checking the ASI website.
In addition, there are a lot of campus positions available to students. Those can be found on the student employment section of the HRDI website, Human Resources, Diversity, and Inclusion. And the link to that, if anybody's interested, is hr.fullerton.edu/careers/students. But there are definitely opportunities available on our campus, both with ASI and with the university.
We'll move on to the next question. Anything from the audience? All right, I'll continue with another pre-submitted question. So this is a question that's been asked throughout the semester. When will the mask mandate be lifted?
So the mask mandate, as you all know, with President's Directive 22, it's the reason why you all have masks on, is that we're all supposed to be wearing masks inside, whether we are eating or drinking. And with that, the mask mandate has been going on a monthly basis. And again, this is done through our HRDI department and reviewing the risk assessed with removing the mask mandate versus keeping the mask mandate, taking input from students' concerns and seeing when will we finally take off the mask. So right now it is extended until the end of November, but it is a conversation done on a month-by-month basis. If you personally have any concerns about COVID or would like to see the mask mandate extended longer or shorted, your input is very helpful for us in having these conversations.
Thank you, Josh. Does the audience have any questions for us? Okay, I'll continue with another.
Wait,
Oh, got it.
All right, my name's Sanjay. Sorry, I have a bunch of questions. I have two. The first one is, I know that other universities have like meditation rooms. Do we have meditation rooms on campus? If so, where?
We do.
I
Yes.
believe we have meditation rooms within the student union.
Yeah, there's one on the second floor. I just don't quite remember the number. And also, I think we're expanding wellness to include like meditation rooms, study rooms, massages and stuff in the coming up.
Are you speaking? Yeah. But anyways, yes, we do have them in the student union on the second floor, so right above us. Depending on where you head up, if you go in through the nearest set of stairs, it's going to be on your right and down the hall a little bit. But yeah, if you want to speak to us after this, we'd be happy to show you where they are.
And then also the expansion in Titan Hall is going to have more resources as well. And we have former ASI President Marcus, who's been a big part of that process.
Yes. And there's also a really nice space in the education building or the EC building. There's like rocks and grassy area in like the center, and they have like stones with affirmations on them. It's a very quiet and like it's surrounded by like it's in the interior of the building, but it's open air space, and it's a very nice place to get some like stillness and quiet for meditation.
And then the second question, you're mentioning Titan Hall. What is the current function of Titan Hall, and what will it be used for in the future as well?
So I could actually take that question. So Titan Hall is closed right now because the facilities are not being done yet, but CAPS is embedding like white noise throughout the building to ensure confidentiality for students who do come in person, but they are not finished yet. And they're also training new hires, like the SRC workers will be for front desk, there will be nap pods, and there'll be other wellness items, I guess, for students to partake in as well.
Mary, do you want to say what CAPS is, since you brought it up?
Yeah, CAPS stands for Counseling
And Psychological
and
Services.
Psychological Services.
Thank you. We will go back to a pre-submitted question. A student asked, are there any plans to push what you're doing to more students so that more of them are aware of what you're doing?
Yeah, I answered this question earlier, so I'll just briefly mention again with the use of the app and Janica talking about reaching to communities and building the community that we have.
Also, a big shout out to our communications team for facilitating and producing events like this to allow space for us all to chat a little bit.
Well, I'll just repeat that you can keep up with what we're up to on our ASI Instagram, our ASI website. If you come into TSU, there's several like marketing materials about what we have going on. And also, you're always welcome to come to our office and have person-to-person conversations with us, so we can also let you know what's going on, and also just get to know each other better.
We'll move on to another question. Is there anything from the audience?
Hello, my name is Daniel. Why does the library close early on Fridays? I just, I'm in there studying and then the loud beeps go off and it kind of scares me. And
Yeah, at 5 o'clock. I believe that answer, and it goes back to talking about the YUM earlier, which was the idea that after coming into COVID, since we only have 60% utilization of students on campus currently, our resources aren't being utilized as much as they were beforehand. So therefore, financially, they're not able to keep them open as long, and the amount of workers that they have are not present as they were before. So rebuilding that infrastructure and seeing in the spring semester, trying to advocate for longer hours, because it was in the past where the library was open pretty much the same hours on Fridays and then also open on Sundays like they are not currently.
Thank you, Josh. Are there any other questions from the audience?
Okay, so for this one's kind of serious. So the parking fee kind of went up a little bit high. I think I paid $334 for the parking sticker. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, are we expecting the parking fee to go up again next semester?
I think parking is always a concern, at least at our campus, to say the least. I don't know that we can answer directly to potential increases in the cost of parking classes. I personally am hoping not to see anything like that. But there is construction right now on another parking structure. So hopefully that will help the issue, and hopefully as that construction concludes and as the funding required to construct something like that concludes, I am optimistic about the future of that situation.
And we can get you an answer by that tomorrow morning, and I'll reach out to you.
Okay, and following the structure of 2 audience questions and 1 pre-submitted question, I'll go back to a question that was submitted via Instagram. A student asked, is it possible that you can please install more bike pumps around campus?
I mean, of course, we can always install more things. That will be a conversation to have with facilities and see the need on our campus. And after they do a study and see, we do have a lot of bikes right now, as you see on the racks. If students do need to get pumps for their bikes, that's definitely something that could happen in the future.
But thank you for bringing that to our attention. We'd love to begin that conversation.
Great. Are there any audience questions? There is a question submitted via Zoom.
First, I'd like to address that it's a bit difficult to hear through the Zoom call, so to pronounce it better. And the question is, what is ASI doing to offer assistance and support survivors of sexual violence?
Do you want me to? Okay. That's something that's very important to me. I used to work at the Women's Center in the Violence Prevention Program. So in a lot of the spaces that I'm in, I try to advocate for augmenting support on campus, including expanding areas of confidentiality, getting clear on the reporting process, and then recently I met with our provost to discuss about getting clear on mandated reporting and what does that mean on our syllabi for syllabus day, because we have that in place for the university, but it doesn't necessarily center survivors. So it was a way for us to work around causing unintentional harm to survivors. And then I want to circle back in conversations on how we can better communicate support and just augment things and shift the cultures on our campus, have those conversations so that coming forth isn't as daunting and people understand the process and the expectations, and that there's a space to feel safe to have these discussions.
Thank you, Janica. Are there any other audience questions?
Hi, everyone. Actually, what I'm really curious about is what are some of the differences that we're going to see next semester compared to this semester? Because I know we're going to have a lot more, 80% of classes back, I think. So, are there going to be any differences from this semester to next semester as far as program services or just however the university is going to be running?
To clarify your question, Marcus, are you talking about ASI as an organization or the campus as a whole?
Oh, and I'm kind of curious on both. So if you have any answers on either or, I'm totally down to kind of hear it.
All right. So the first thing would be the mask mandate, which is I can't give you an answer on that. To go back to the question about when will the mask mandate end, that's an ongoing process that we have monthly conversations on. And then for programs wise, I believe Kiera.
Programming, the programming team itself, because I do realize, thank you for pointing out earlier, Danica, that our commissions also produce programs as well. But specifically, our programming team does have a little bit more on their plate for next semester. So students should be excited. In terms of what the programs will look like, I think this semester they have been fairly, for lack of a better word, normal. In the way that they look, being in person and all that good stuff. So I wouldn't expect changes in terms of that with programming in the spring. However, the quantity of events.
I'll just speak to at least my commission. In terms of programming, we will maintain the format of a hybrid, virtual, and in-person for accessibility for folks who for safety reasons, choose to remain virtual. But we would also like to have more opportunities and engagement for community, which happens better in person. So yeah, just a lot more collaborations and some really good conversations. But in terms of differences, just making sure everything is accessible for both virtual and in-person attendees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say one more thing too, just for you all. If this is your first semester here on campus, with spring semester opening up more students, the parking will not be as lenient as it was. At least get here to campus a little bit earlier, just so you don't have to fight for spots as much. But then Marcus, just to wrap up your question, I feel like at least in ASI, we've had, from my experience, the only difference that I've experienced is wearing a mask pretty much. And with some events and some meetings, obviously, I think now we've adapted to having that Zoom format where we don't have to come into the meeting if we don't have to. But I think I've also really enjoyed and loved having the ability to communicate with the team and meet in person like we're doing right now. So definitely hoping to have more of that, and hopefully we don't have to make any adjustments based on the climate outside.
Thank you for the question.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be going back to pre-submitted questions. So this student submitted their question via Qualtrics and asked, what are you currently doing to address basic needs issues?
Yes, so I can take that one. I'll at least start on it. So we had the grand opening of the food pantry on October 12th. So if you just go right outside, go to the right. It's currently served over 2,800 students since it opened this early fall semester. ASI as a whole, our Community Engagement Commission, just recently this past weekend went to a basic needs center to help package meals. And then I want to give a shout out to Dixie Samaniego, our Chief Governmental Officer sitting right there, working on a housing project also with our Chief Campus Relations Officer, Cassandra Hallett, in the spring in advocating for student housing. Just pretty much coming back to the idea with basic needs is that our students should only have to worry about what tests they're taking or what assignments do and nothing else. So trying to find a world where that's possible.
Okay, so we'll move back to the audience questions. Does anyone have a question for the panelists? If not, we'll continue with pre-submitted questions. So another student asked, how do I create a new club?
I can take this one. This is my favorite question. So whoever submitted this, please reach out to me. Basically, you go onto Student Life and Leadership's website. There will be 4 buttons, or you can just scroll all the way down and it will be new student organization. And it's like a little doc. You click on it, you fill it out. You could also go to Student Life and Leadership, who's located 2nd floor TSU. If you're entering from the patio, the TSU patio, and you go up those stairs, you just continue walking straight, and it will be the 2nd or 3rd to last door on your left-hand side. But if you do want to start a club, please reach out to me, and I would be more than happy to help you through that process.
Thank you, Mary. Are there any other questions from the audience? Okay, I'll continue on. Another student asked, what are some things that you feel ASI can improve on?
Well, me personally, I feel ASI can still do a better job in engaging more marginalized sectors of the campus. We're starting to do that now, but instill that into the culture that we come to them and we show up and we support on a regular basis, not during elections, not when something comes up, but just to show that we are part of you and you are part of us, to continue to center marginalized communities and folks so that they no longer stay in the margins and they are constantly considered and figured in the planning so that inclusion is normalized. And I do feel like ASI and the campus as a whole could do a little bit better in being there for the disabled community and supporting that and normalizing things and maybe working towards the universal design on campus.
I think too, something I've been thinking about a lot lately is, I guess, the way that students learn what ASI is. I know that at the top of each year, we'll table at certain events or housing move-in or what have you, and while that's all awesome, just being sure that we are intentional in our outreach, because ASI exists not just to support traditional four-year students or students who move into housing and kind of go through that journey. It's to represent all of our 40,000 students across campus, and that is not a universal experience. So being intentional in the way that we reach students as well. I think that will benefit the future of ASI.
Yeah.
I think to add on that, I would say also outreach, whether it be not just to our colleges, but to the campus at whole, whether that be tabling more or putting our name out there, or maybe making like just something so people understand what ASI does, because we do play a huge part in the campus and a lot of big decisions are in our hands. So I'd say putting ourselves out there a little more and showing people and helping them understand what ASI really does.
Mm-hmm. And then one more thing I'd like to add to that is retention with student leaders, just because I believe that as leads, we come in, we're super excited, we all have these goals and passions and ideas, but there's a really steep learning curve to it. And sometimes, because we're also students, we get burnt out or we've stopped growing in this position. And because of that, there's a new student leader every single year, or sometimes they don't want to try to go for higher leadership positions. So that frequently creates a lot of new experience amongst everyone. And so they're not able to advocate as well as they would be able to as someone more experienced initially in that position and trying to just keep the pipeline moving.
Yeah, so I think you're moving on to that, like being more communicative with like new leadership that comes in, mentoring folks and engaging them in the process for leadership positions, and then again, being more involved in the community so that when you make these decisions, you understand the impact of them.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Does anyone from the audience have a question? Okay, so another question that a student asked is, what projects are you all currently working on?
A lot.
Mary, do you want to start?
Yeah, so we are currently working on a statement for the SWANA community. There has been a lot of turmoil, and a lot of students on our campus are affected by all the events happening within the SWANA community. For those who don't know what SWANA stands for, it's the Southwest Asian North African Community. It's a broader term of using the word Middle Eastern because it includes countries such as Afghanistan and Armenia, whereas the Middle Eastern region doesn't, and it encompasses the globe better. And actually, when you apply for a demographic, those other countries would be applying as white when they are actually not white. So we use the term SWANA. So I'm currently working with a couple people on our leadership team to provide that statement in support for the Sewanna community.
And then Josh had mentioned earlier, looking into and exploring the idea of an app on behalf of the organization, just to provide more comprehensive means of communication between student leaders and their constituents in the future. So that's something that we've been talking a lot about with a lot of different people. I also have been recently interested in trying to articulate this. Interested in ensuring that students are receiving the most comprehensive and easiest to use means of student success and advising on our campus. It's not streamlined, if anybody knows or is double majoring in 2 different colleges on our campus, and it can be difficult to navigate. So I'm currently sitting on the Provost Advisory Board, and that's a big conversation that we're having right now, and we'll be involved in another focus group to speak about this, to make sure that students not only have the support they need, but know that they have it available to them and are able to navigate those means.
Yeah. And then another thing that I am looking forward to a lot, and conversations have started about it, but definitely moving in the spring semester, is creating an infrastructure for student voices on a campus. Just because Cassie and I have talked about this a lot on the committees that we sit on, because we sit on a lot of committees, is that 2 students can't accurately represent the 42,000 students on our campus. And so if looking for ways to remove that limit of students, I know we've always had the problem of getting students to sit on committees. That's very reflective in our commissions, but at least giving students the opportunity, if they do want to sit on a committee, to have the availability for them to do so, so that students, since we are the biggest stakeholders on this campus, have more of a say and get an oversight of what's actually happening.
And then I'll go. I'm always working on shaking shit up, and that means advocating to my best ability for survivors, for a safer campus that doesn't involve policing, for all of our communities together, stuff like the mandated reporting on the syllabus, stuff like just building better community, trying to shift the culture and also shift material conditions on campus for a better experience for everyone, because at the end of the day, something I like to mention in a lot of the places that I advocate for is we are whole people. We're not just students. So coming into the space, accounting for the wholeness of our humanity is what I am currently working on, and being very intentional with the programming for the Social Justice and Equity Commission.
Thank you. And we are getting close to the end of the event, but are there any last questions from the audience?
Don't ask a hard one.
As a follow-up of my question earlier, what's going on with spring concert? Are we still doing that? Is that a game plan? And then also, as student leaders, you have to tell us who's performing at spring concert. So who's performing at spring concert this year?
As student leaders, we don't have to tell you yet, Marcus. I would love to. Yeah, spring concert. If all things, I guess, in the world stay on the track that they're on, we're hoping to have an in-person spring concert. That's definitely what we're looking to do. Who the artist is, I cannot say at this time. But I mean, it's our first spring concert back in a few years in person. So we're very excited and wanna let students know what it's all about who may not have experienced spring concert in the past in person.
I guess kind of following up on that, go ahead and follow us on ASI CSUF so you can learn about, you'll be the first to hear who's performing and when. And so to wrap it up, thank you everyone for your time and presence here today, whether it be in this physical space, and thank you to those of you who joined via Zoom. We appreciate the time you have taken today to take part in this conversation with your student leaders. I also want to thank our interpreter, Robert, and the ASI staff for their support with this event. Thank you again, everyone, for your time. Have a great rest of your day and week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.